Hey guys, it's Dave here, and I am in my kitchen because I am looking at the Insanity Elite Nutrition Guide. You may have noticed that we have put together a new spreadsheet. This is a lot like what we did for P90X, breaking down that nutrition guide. There's a link to it here on YouTube if that's where you're watching this. And basically what this does is it goes through and it tells you how many calories you need to have and then how to break them down into individual meals. So the Insanity approach is a little bit different than the P90X approach. I think it's a little more comprehensive than the P90X approach. One of the things I didn't like about the P90X nutrition calculator was that the way it calculated resting metabolic rate. Basically what it did is it took your weight and multiplied by 10. So for me at 160, that was 1600. That was 1600 was what that number came out to. Now, as it turns out, the Insanity equation, which is the Harris-Benedict equation, takes into account weight, height, and age. My number was 1681, so we're pretty close. But I have seen a lot of people be way out of whack with that number. And they do their calories per the spreadsheet that we put together, which just mimics the P90X plan. And they find that those numbers just don't make any sense. A lot of times when we go, and if you Google resting metabolic rate, you can find a great little calculator to run your number. When we go and we do the numbers, we find that that resting metabolic rate is way off. This is typically people who have a fair amount of weight to lose or who are over 50. So for whatever reason, if you're looking at that and you think your calories are out of whack, recalculate that resting metabolic rate, and that may be the key to it. Insanity does that for you, which is what I really like. So again, my number was 1681 on the Harris-Benedict equation, which gives you your basal energy expenditure. Then Insanity goes through and calculates your activity factor. If you're doing Insanity, I think you want to enter 1.7 here. If you are a really active person, and you may want to enter 1.9. For me, I'm doing Insanity. I'm also riding my bike twice a week. I probably could have entered 1.9. I fiddled around with that. I just felt the calories came out way too high for me. So 1.7 was the number that I went with. And I think that's probably a pretty good number for me. So that puts me at 2,857 calories. We then go through and adjust for your goal. To me, 2,857 calories is just way too many. I've noticed that on a day when I'm just doing Insanity, and I'm in the max phase now, so that workout's about an hour, that's just too many calories. I feel like I'm forcing calories, and I never want to feel like that. On a day when I go for a bike ride, my short ride, I burn about 1,300 calories. The long ride, I might burn up to 3,000, just kind of depends on how long I go for. On those days, 2,800 calories is maybe a little low. So I have to sort of take that into account. But everybody's got to sort of find their own number here. So for me, I deducted 500 from that number to get me to 2,357. I feel like that's a good solid number for me, a very comfortable amount of calories for me to eat. So what Insanity does then, that I think is much simpler than P90X as well, is it basically says, okay, we'll take that number, we'll divide by 5, and the spreadsheet will do that automatically for you. And so for me, that's 471 calories per meal. So what the Insanity Guide tells you is you want to eat about 470 calories per meal. So I have a range of about 450 to 500 per meal. Now I operate in ranges, okay? I'm not the type of person who weighs all my food. I'm just not that precise about it. I don't think you need to be that precise about it. If you get 2,100 one day and 2,500, 2,400 another day, it's not going to make a big difference in your overall life as long as you continue to eat good, healthy foods. I always say what you eat is way more important than how much, and you keep working out. So keep that in mind, but if you can get them as close to your number as possible, I don't think that is going, I think that's a good thing. So then we go to page 2 of the spreadsheet. What we've done is we've broken it down into the 5 meals that go across the board. It's breakfast, a mid-morning snack, lunch, afternoon snack, and then dinner. And then we just listed out the meals that are in the Insanity Guide you can find here. So the recipes are in here. Each one of these meals is about 300 calories. Again, about 300 calories. On page 3 of the spreadsheet, we have the food blocks listed. There's 100-calorie food blocks and 200-calorie food blocks. So for me, I've got a bunch of 300-calorie meals that I need to add about 170 calories, if not 200, or somewhere in that range too. So I can look at these food blocks and I can figure out what I'm going to add to certain meals. And I'll just give you a couple of examples of that. Cereal bowl for breakfast, right? That's about 300 calories. I can throw a banana in there and get it to about 400 calories. Let's see, what else? Let me just pick something here. The lean burger for lunch. That's a 300 calorie meal. I could go through and I could add some turkey to that. I could have an orange and some almonds on the side of that. All kinds of options to get more calories in your meal so that you can get them up to the amount you need. One meal I want to talk about is Shakeology. Okay, the Shakeology shake, each packet of Shakeology, each serving of Shakeology is 140 calories. The Shakeology shake in the Insanity Elite Nutrition Guide is 280 calories because it's 2 servings of Shakeology. Now, you may not want to take 2 servings of Shakeology. I often do take 2 servings of Shakeology during the day. Rarely do I have 2 in 1 serving. That can get a little bit expensive, and I'm not sure you really need that many nutrients in 1 serving. So, make the adjustment, right? You know this is 140 calories. This is Beachbody's whey protein. It's 110 calories. So, if I add 1 serving of this, that gets me to 250. 2 servings gets me to 360. Throw a banana in there. That gets me almost exactly on my number for what I need per meal. And that is something I have for breakfast pretty regularly. I like the greenberry. I'll add fruit to it and a little bit of whey protein in order to get the calories up to where I need them. If I do the chocolate, I'll also add a banana and some almond butter. The guide talks about peanut butter. If you're going to do peanut butter, get natural peanut butter. I like almond butter. I think it's healthier. And to me, it tastes a little better. I don't think there's a great taste difference between the two. You know, quite frankly, we've been giving this to our kids and telling them it's peanut butter, and they have no idea. So, a couple of tips there to get your calories up. So, just that word. I don't use egg whites. I use regular eggs, but I use organic eggs. Feel free to do whatever you want to do, but that's just my word to the wise. So, I'm headed off to the store because as I sat here and put this all together, I realized that we have eaten every single piece of fruit in the entire house. So, I have to go to the store and get some more fruit and probably pick up some veggies as well so that I can sort of keep eating on this Insanity plan. If you're doing Insanity, make sure you get your calories in because it is a tough workout. I like the ratio of protein to carbs and fat here. I think for Insanity, it's an appropriate level of carbs. If you feel like it's too many carbs, feel free to cut some carbs, add a little fat. I think that's fine. Otherwise, I hope you guys are doing well. If you have questions about the spreadsheet or anything I'm talking about, please feel free to give me an email. My email address is Dave, D-A-V-E, @thefitclubnetwork.com. I am always happy to help. Take care.